Creative Speaks gives young people the platform to allow their voices to be heard when speaking on things that impact their lives. Our podcast is talking about social injustices from the young point of view.
The podcast is about social issues and what's happening in the world, and young people talking about it from their point of view.
Our goal is to inspire young people around the world
to inform young people about problems and social injustices currently happening in our society today.
Creative Speaks is for young people from young people.
You're listening to Creative Speaks.
Hello and welcome back to Creative Speaks. On this episode, we will be discussing the impact of politics on young people and be giving a basic overview of what you need to know if you feel out of your depth in the scary and often overwhelming world of politics. First, we're going to kick it off with our recurring feature, What's Up?, where we ask each other about the things going on in the world that are important to ourselves and others. So guys, what's up?
Well, we started our prelims at school, obviously, but our school doesn't give us study leave.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy, because you told me we're supposed to get it.
Yeah, my history, who's my head of year, she was like, the council decides if you get study leave or not. Are we not the same council? So
well, we're in school anyway. But the what are they called? The senior management team, SMT, have said to all the teachers that when you're in their class, you need to revise stuff for that class, which I just think is ridiculous, because the reason they're not giving us study leave is because they don't think people will study at home, but then they're not letting us study the stuff that we feel we need to study when we are in school.
Also, so could you getting proper study in 50 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got to pack up and move, because a lot of people study by doing past papers, but none of the timed past papers, but none of the exams are 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Could you be could you be the period before an exam and have to study for something else?
Well, the teachers have, I think that's one of the the exceptions where they're if you've got a prelim, if you're in class in the morning and you have a prelim the afternoon, then you're allowed to study in other classes. But if I have a prelim tomorrow, I'm not allowed to study for that.
That's silly.
Which it just makes me feel like they're back to youth voice. They're not particularly listening to what we actually want to do, because everybody in the school agrees that this is a ridiculous setup, a ridiculous system.
Also,
and
it's not properly preparing you for what the actual exam is.
That's
what
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If people aren't going to study at home, then let them not study at home, and it'll teach them a lesson, guys. The consequences of your actions.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of prelims, is to be preparing for your actual exams. They don't actually really mean anything most of the time. So yeah.
So that's my what's up. Not happy about it. Alex, what's up?
I am on study leave, and it's quite tricky in some ways. I mean, at least I get to choose what I study for, but also there's also just the motivation of studying it at all, which is quite tricky, and getting up in the morning. I mean, I feel like when it's actual exams, I have a bit more of a incentive to study, but with this, it's I can't see the end goal of this is getting a good mark in your prelim, and then it's and then that's it. Unless I'm sick in the exam, but I can't see that as a reality, I feel like I need a incentive, where I'm that's the goal, and that's why I'm doing it, and that's the pathway for why I'm doing it. But this, I'm just but yeah, I mean, I am studying, but it's
What time
trickier.
did you get up this morning?
7:30 actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's early.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't get up till 7:30, and I actually had to leave the house. So.
I got up at 9 and I was I'm early today.
But there has been days where it's been 10 or 11, so yeah, which isn't good. So that's my what's up. Jenna.
Right, I feel bad because I'm talking about prelims again, but I feel that's an accurate representation of young people at this time of year, because the only thing going on in our minds and the only thing we actually talk about is prelims. This is really getting me all. I take one of my classes, one of my advanced hires, at a different school. Did I tell you
told
about
me
this?
about this, yeah.
And I need to take a taxi to get to the school, and I had my prelim, and my taxi didn't show up. So I didn't have any way to get all the way into Bishopbriggs. I'm Lindsay, Bishopbriggs, it's 10 minutes. So the taxi showed up. It would have been about half an hour later or something like that, and I was meant to have 10-15 minutes in the school to go over my notes with everybody. Didn't get that. Turned up 10 minutes late. Didn't get any time to go over my notes beforehand, and it wasn't good. No, it wasn't. They gave me extra time. They gave me an extra 10 minutes.
Right,
but
okay.
Oh, that was a mess. And then my next, I've only done 2 and I've got 4, but the next one, the clock broke halfway through.
That's so typical.
The clock broke halfway through. So I thought I had 20 minutes left and I had 2 minutes left. The guy, he didn't give us a warning, he gave us a 2-minute warning. What am I going to do with a 2-minute warning when I'm writing essays?
I got given a 1-minute warning the other day.
Let's do that.
Yeah, because I had it was an exam that I had extra time for, and like there were different people in the room, but they have like different like levels of extra time. So he came up to me and he was like, "You have 1 minute left," and I was like, "Thank you." What am I supposed to do with that
I'm realising
information?
that I told you both parts of that story because you told me that. But yeah, we're so interesting. Tell us the same stories over and over
Well,
again.
it's the only thing going on. It's the only thing interesting going on.
I got a cut on my thumb on my right hand, which I write with. I got a cut on my thumb the day before my English exam, and it's like so sore. I feel like I'm being like whingy, but I was I was raging, and then I had I was like bandaging it up before I went in to cushion it so it wasn't sore when I was writing, because you write for like the whole like hour and a half.
English is.
And then like my pen was like sliding about in my hand because I had it, so I like ripped off the plaster in the exam. And I saw the invigilator looking at me. That's quite embarrassing, but I was like, right! Just took it off. And then wrote on my raw wound. So that's that sums up exams, I think. It's a good, accurate representation of the prelim season.
Ellie, have you got anything non-exam related?
Yeah, considering I'm too old for exams now, definitely. For people who are around my age, I'm part of the group that's now trying to get to college, though in my case, 3rd attempt at getting into college.
Stressful.
First time did happen, photography course.
Photography.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Was not that good though with some of the teachers and some of my classmates. So that busted. Second time I tried to apply last year to an acting and performance course. That didn't go through, so I'm going to try reapply again, and as a backup I'm going to do a makeup and an artistry course.
Ooh. Is this stuff, like, what colleges are you looking at?
Just City of Glasgow. It's the closest
yeah,
one to me.
Yeah.
That's huge, and it's got all the, like, my friend does jewellery there.
Yeah.
And they've got like proper like jewellery stations, but it's like on the 10th floor or something.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you see like the like hair studios and the cafes and all that. So it seems really good.
It's good, yeah. Obviously, thankfully I do know my way around since I did go there last time, so it's good to.
Yeah.
I'll know exactly where I'm going if I do get in, and all the secret ways to get to the secret lifts, because those initial stairs when you go in are such a nightmare.
Okay, so we're going to get into the main body and start talking about politics and stuff, but first we're just going to explain kind of where we are at in our knowledge of politics. So Alex?
So, I mean, politics does interest me, and at times depress me. I find it a bit, like, tricky to expose myself to for like a long period of time, because I just feel so, like, a lot of time I just feel like, ugh, I can't bother with this is just making me sad. But yeah, I try to keep up to date with things that are happening that can be affecting me. So I listen to like a kind of, it's called Pod Save the UK. It's like the hosts are Nish Kumar and Coco Khan, and they kind of just, it's like a weekly thing, and they just talk about the UK political climate that week. So that, I feel like that keeps me well up to date, and it's not depressing. So yeah, but I also sometimes feel a bit like I have a conflict in myself where I feel a little bit like I get too much of my news from the same kind of people, and like sometimes like I say that to other people, like, oh, you're just in an echo chamber. I don't say that, but I wouldn't say that to other people.
Polarised.
Oh, where's my photo? A bit, yep. Okay. For those who don't know, when we're doing the edit to the last episode, every time I said polarised, I hate Alfredo.
Because I said it so much.
Yeah, because I said it every sentence.
I don't want to now.
Yeah. Yeah, basically I just think, like, am I doing that? Like, am I just as bad? Do I only get one perspective on things? I try to think that I usually get my kind of source of like where my point of view is on things from like a kind of from a source that gives it like a kind of nuanced perspective and lets me take my own conclusion, because I think that's the best way to consume, or the best way to approach a lot of difficult issues. So yeah, that's another thing. Just I like I feel like I'm constantly checking myself, check I'm not becoming the P word.
That's good.
So Niamh, what's your relationship with politics today?
Well, I did National 5 Modern Studies last year, and I got an A in that. So, and I did enjoy it when I did it. So we've got like a sort of, I have a surface level knowledge of like the systems itself and how that works, but I couldn't really tell you much about like inside the parties and that sort of area of politics. So yeah, that's where I'm sort of unsure of things.
And also in Nat 5 Moddies there's
Crime.
there's
Well,
that
yeah,
too,
we
but
did
like
crime,
but then you also have a choice whether you do politics in the UK or politics in Scotland, or at least you did in my
Yeah,
school.
we did politics in Scotland for
Okay,
ours.
so
in Scotland.
yeah.
It's the official.
I did politics in the UK as well, but the other class did politics in Scotland. So yeah, it's important to know the kind of distinctions
Like the distinction
and,
between them.
how
So,
it
yeah.
all works.
I know how the systems work. I know how like the voting works and that, but just sort of like individual parties and stuff, and what everybody stands for and things like that. That's where I'm unsure.
Yeah, because that's the kind of nuanced thing that you can't you can't really get when you're like teaching or like in an exam or something. You know, that's more about facts. Whereas to actually have an understanding of politics, like it's good to understand all the, you know, I don't want to say nuances again. That's going to come the new word.
The new word is nuance.
Yeah.
Ellie, what's your relationship with politics?
I struggle to understand a lot of politics. I obviously know all about the general parties and sort of where they stand, whether it's like left or right wing and all that. But aside from that, I struggle to know which one I kind of relate to for my own personal goals, because it's hard to see. Like, obviously, there's one that everyone pretty much immediately knows is kind of like, no, not them, no. But aside from that, it's a bit hard for me to get a grasp of what all the other parties like stand for and their general goals for Scotland in general.
I find it quite interesting to think, like, I feel like, so the Conservatives were in power for 14 years, and I feel like, I'm like, how have I never really, very few people I've met who are Tories, and I'm like, how can that be? But I think it's a kind of more a Scottish thing where, first of all, there's less support for the Tories in Scotland, but also I feel like if they are, it's a bit more of a kind of inward thing, or maybe it's to do with the union or something. They're maybe not aligning themselves with Conservative values as much. They're more just, I don't know, more just the only kind of viable option to them. Or I suppose Labour as well as unionist, in Scotland. But yeah, so I find that quite interesting.
Yeah, I don't really focus much on the news in general. Like, I do obviously sometimes pop in when I'm told that there's going to be an election. I have to actually be told by my mum saying, there's an election, right, you need to vote, right? And I'm like, okay, fine, let's see what's going on this time.
So you vote? Did you vote in the summer?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
I don't even remember who I voted for.
I think that's the point. People get to this.
It was either SNP or Green. Those are the only two ones that I'm kind of alright with, because those two
quite similar.
Exactly, yeah. I remember when I first was old enough to vote, though, it was definitely SNP for some of the things that they stated in their causes, like with the LGBT and all that and stuff. So yeah, I think typically it is around those two parties that I find it easier to understand them. It's then just the other ones that as soon as I hear them, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
Kind of similar to Niamh, I did Nat 5 Moddies, and then I did higher Moddies, and now I am doing advanced higher Moddies.
I am not doing higher Moddies. Just
Me neither.
I didn't take it this year.
I take higher politics as well, which is actually quite different than Moddies, but it looks more in depth into politics. I have applied to my universities. I've gotten unconditionals from 3 of them so far. So yeah, and it's all to do politics. But away from like the school side of things, my dad he works from home a lot, and if he's working from home, he turns on Politics Live or Prime Minister questions, First Minister questions, and that's what he spends his lunch break doing. So I think, especially during COVID, when I was home all the time, and during like my exam leaves and everything, like right now, I would watch it with him, and I think that, especially like in 2020 and 2021, when it was literally all I was doing, like every lunch I'd watch politics live, it gave me like this like massive understanding of it all. So I think because of that, that's what sparked my interest and what made me want to go into politics when I'm older, because that's kind of my dream role. Dream role? It's like, this is a musical. That's my that's my dream job. It's something in politics, and being able to, so cheesy, but being able to make a change in the world is what I want to do when I'm older, using politics. And I'm a member of a political party, so I do a lot of stuff with that. Don't know if I should mention what political party. Don't want to be too polarising.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've like got a big relationship with politics.
And that period of 2020, what time period did you say? Just so I get it right.
2020, 2021.
Yeah, that period of 2020, 2021 is, I feel like that was that was when people our age kind of all gain political awareness, and I feel like, and it was also a good time in a way. There was all the drama happening with Boris Johnson. I feel like it was kind of slightly interesting. I do feel like in a way that set our generation up. Like everyone was like totally like, and also we're all just sitting at home, like we had nothing else to do really. Yeah,
I think because of that, and then I decided to take it further, which I don't know if it was a good decision or a bad decision yet.
Time will tell.
But yeah, I'd say I've got quite a strong relationship with, I don't know if I just said that or not, but I think I've got a strong relationship with politics, and it's something that I find really interesting, and I want to help educate other people on it, because I think it scares me a bit. Maybe it scares me a bit knowing how little other people know about politics. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got this friend, and me and Alex were talking about her earlier, she's so smart, but she didn't know who the Prime Minister was, and she could tell me like a single thing, and I was like, you must know who the Prime Minister is.
Wait. Keir Starmer.
Keir Starmer, thanks.
Yes!
And the First Minister is Matthew Sweeney.
No.
John Sweeney.
Thank you very much.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said
name
that.
Right.
I know him. He's bald. What did he do recently? Oh, he was something recently about him in the news. Was there a thing? There was some. I think it was him and Trump or something. He was.
Oh, he said that he would have to meet up with Trump and talk with Trump as a leader of the nation, and that he wasn't gonna not talk with the leader of the America,
just the biggest military superpower on the planet,
just because he doesn't like him.
Okay.
Also, he doesn't like him.
He doesn't like him,
and he said that like openly.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I was remembering. Is that significant? Because I feel like Keir Starmer's been a bit.
David Lammy's best buds with him now. He called Donald Trump some names a few years ago and then retracted it all. David Lammy, the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs.
So yeah, Foreign Secretary. That's the same thing.
I was going to say Home Secretary, but that is Yvette Cooper.
Yes. So, what do you want to start with your politics basics for this episode?
If you guys have got any questions you want to ask me,
could you do like a simple overview of like the parties in Scotland? Yeah,
in Scotland,
just to start us off.
And and also just how the system works with the UK and stuff, because I think that's one of the key areas that I feel like I don't think anyone really understands.
Okay, so like devolution stuff.
Yeah, devolution and the parties, yeah.
Right, so first we'll go for an overview of the parties. Okay, so you've got the SNP, who are the party in government. They have the majority of members of the Scottish Parliament, and the majority of bills and laws will come from them. They are led by the First Minister, John Swinney. So they're a left-wing party.
I've more heard them being described as a centre party, but I don't know if that's good, because see, it's a kind of shifting thing, because the more like the right wing's kind of rising, that's pushing other parties to the left and other parties to the right. It's kind of
did I delete that photo? I've got a photo that shows you where they all are, where all the parties are, and they were closer to
I think they've probably gone more left wing over time, I would say.
If I deleted this photo, I'm going to be so annoyed.
Definitely compared to the UK, like as a whole, I would say they were a left wing party.
If we look here, you can't see it because maybe it gives you a bit of a thing on what party I I'm a member of, cause but if that's them there, the SNP there.
Yeah.
So that's quite left-wing, I'd say, especially considering where other left-wing parties are.
And how's that determined in that?
Just based off of their
policies, like, yeah. Okay, so where that falls.
Yeah, when I say that they're a left-wing or a party's left-wing or right-wing, you do need to keep in mind that we are all drifting scarily close to the right, and the centre is moving and moving and moving closer to the right, which is, but they're a pro-independence party, so they believe that Scotland should be its own independent nation, and they're led by John Swinney. Then you've got the Conservative Party, who have the second most MPs in Holyrood. They are a right-wing party. They're a unionist party, which means that they believe that the UK should stay as one, and they are led newly by Russell Finlay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew that. What was the guy before? I can see his face.
He's a referee, Douglas Ross.
Douglas Ross.
He's an assistant referee, so I have seen him referee football games before. It's my fun little
The
fact.
Tories and referees, what a great role to have in the beautiful country of Scotland.
Yeah.
Just quickly, like how would you define like the difference between left and right wing when talking about like, political
so
parties?
technically, officially, it's based on your economic policies. Sorry, so it's based off of if you believe in more socialist economic policies or more capitalist economic policies. But nowadays, when we talk like they're left wing, they're right wing, it kind of turns into more of your social policies. So you see it more that people who are left wing are more, progressive, more for LGBTQ plus rights, more for immigration, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
More for stuff, more progressive things. Whereas if you're right wing, it's more traditionalist values.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just so that we have everything covered, so no one's feeling out their depths. Like, so more socialist policy is about kind of like welfare, and that's talking about the state supporting
support, so your welfare state, your benefits.
So our principles like
free
NHS, free education,
free prescription.
Sorry, I was talking over you.
When we talk about you kind of left wing SNP policies, they tend to have a lot of free prescriptions, free higher education and stuff, which is why you'd probably categorise them as more left wing. Yeah. Because of those socialist policies.
And Scotland as a whole is more left wing than
England.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Labour Party, who are the party in government in the United Kingdom as a whole. So they are led by... So in England they're led by Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, but in Scotland they are led by Anis Sarwar. And they are traditionally a more left-wing party, came out of the trade unions of the 1920s, I'm going to say. Have been going closer to the centre of late, but they are still like traditionally a left-wing party. And then Liberal Democrats, who are traditionally a centrist party, they are led by Alex Cole-Hamilton. Don't really know what much there's to say about.
I've never heard of him, to be honest.
They're led by Ed Davey in Westminster. And I think he bungee jumped.
He's he's a marketing genius. I feel like he's actually, I will say that. He's been very good in the last year at putting himself on the map as someone. I mean, just because everyone thinks he's a bit goofy, but
yeah, no press is bad press.
Exactly.
It worked for them. They ended up with 74 seats, I think they've got in Westminster.
That's the
which
longest
was a
they've got in a long time.
Yeah, massive growth. They were the fourth biggest party, and now they're the third biggest party.
Oh.
And then you've the Green Party. So the Green Party, another... and should mention, Labour and Liberal Democrats are both unionist parties. You've got the Greens, who are another pro-independence party. Left-wing, pro-independence. They formed a coalition government, which meant they teamed up with the SNP to be in government. I'd probably mentioned that.
And their core values are kind of...
Eco,
yeah.
Pro-environment policies, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'd say they're probably the most the furthest left party that's kind of on the map.
I've got it here, furthest left. I've got a little grid up to show where all the little parties are and where I am. So they do this little interesting thing, which I'm not so sure of. They have a male and a female leader. So in Scotland it is Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater.
Is it on purpose that
It's
it's a
on
male?
purpose.
Right.
It's the same.
I didn't know that.
I just thought it was that they had like
No,
it was co-party
it's-
leaders. They had two, so it's purposefully one male and one female
and
party
I
leader.
cannot remember the name of their leaders in Westminster, but it's a woman and a man as well.
Right. Okay.
That's a bit
I
odd.
think for a party that is so, you know, forward with its being, you know, pro-trans rights, pro,
like so far left.
Uh-huh.
you know, party for so
That's a bit
LGBT
odd.
and so trans rights and all, and so like open for like non-binary people and stuff. Men and women's like your setting that like rigid thing. I find it a bit odd, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then in Scotland, there's also another party called the Alba Party that was led by ex-First Minister Alex Salmond before he passed away earlier in late 2024. They're another pro-independence party. They're left-wing, but closer to the centre than the other Scottish left-wing parties. And their main thing is the Scottish independence, and they've only got one MSP. Another party that you should probably know about is Reform, but they don't have any MSPs in Scotland at the moment. They've got 4 MPs in Westminster, and they're led by Nigel Farage. They're a unionist party, and they're very right-wing, scarily right-wing, to be honest.
I think it says a lot if your party leader was in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah.
I think that's just maybe something to think about.
A bit of an Ed Davey move.
Yeah. I think his stint on I'm a Celebrity is... I think it's crazy how drastic an effect that's had on
Yeah.
the United
You know
Kingdom.
exactly what. Yeah.
Because
What
if,
he's done with that.
he hadn't gone on
I
I'm a
think-
Celebrity, I think the world, the UK right now would be completely different. He
Yeah.
would have nowhere near the prominence that he does.
That's crazy, the kind of butterfly effect
Yeah.
from that. But I think, the thing with Elon Musk has been so funny, where that morning he was like, what was he saying? He was like, Elon Musk is a hero. And then, what was it? He's like, and then Elon Musk goes on X and says he's an incompetent loser or something. Can't remember.
But yeah, so that's a quick overview of the parties. Probably made it more complicated than it actually was. I think I went over myself about 10
I
times.
feel like I learned something.
But
I didn't know that about the Greens actually. That is really weird.
yeah, no, it weirds me out. But I'm pretty sure Lorna Slater's Canadian as well, which is unrelated but fun.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
And then also just about how all those parties kind of relate to each other. So Scotland is a devolved nation under the UK.
Scotland is a devolved nation under the UK. So devolution is a little fun thing. So you've got Westminster, right, which is down in London. I visited it a couple of weeks ago? Last week before last. Went to see it. And funnily enough, twice in the space of a couple of months I went to Westminster, which I think proves my dedication to politics. You see the stuff I do in my free time.
What was it? But you saw shows as well in London.
I saw shows as well in London.
What did you see in
Sorry.
we can cut that out.
The first time I went down to Westminster, I saw Hamilton, and then I went a couple of weeks back, I saw Mean Girls and Book of Mormon. Anyway, in Westminster there are 650 MPs, and members of Parliament, and they represent the entirety of the UK. So they make decisions that affect the entirety of the UK. But there's some decisions that only affect Scotland, or only affect Northern Ireland, or only affect Wales, or only affect England. And those shouldn't be made, it's been widely accepted that those shouldn't be made by 650 people who, you know, the majority of them don't have any relation to Scotland. Well, over 600 of them have nothing to do with Scotland. So, devolution happens, and there's a smaller government, a smaller parliament called Holyrood, which is in Edinburgh. I went to see that last Easter. And so it's a smaller government. Parliament. And it's majority, obviously, Scottish people and people who live in Scotland. So who have, you know, care and have a stake in Scotland. And they make decisions based on situations that only impact Scotland. So they're given powers by Westminster, and they're given the power to control things so that only affect Scotland. So stuff like healthcare, because it's a Scottish NHS, they make decisions that on healthcare for stuff that only affects Scotland. Education, they make decisions on education because that only affects Scotland. That's why we do hires and advanced hires and Nat5s, and in England and Wales they do GCSEs and A-levels, because the Scottish Parliament was given that decision to make and have it affect Scotland. But then you've got stuff like immigration, because if immigration affects the entirety of the UK, that's a reserved power, and it's kept in decisions are made by the 650 MPs in Westminster. Broadcasting, we've got one full BBC, That's all those decisions relating to that. And there's been a lot of debate about stuff getting moved from Westminster, Holyrood, stuff like drug powers. That's been a big one that they've been wanting to move from Westminster to Scotland.
The drug rooms opened up recently, didn't
the
they?
Thistle drug rooms. That was the main reason why that people have wanted that power to be devolved, so that they can open up a safe consumption room, which they have now opened up the Thistle, it's called, first safe consumption room. But yeah, so it's devolution as a series of powers given to a smaller government to allow that parliament and government to make decisions over things that only affect that area and that constituent nation.
And Scotland's the most devolved nation of all the nations. Yeah,
Scotland's the most devolved. So, hell, you talk about, like, crime is devolved. I do advanced modules, mentioned that earlier, and we get our crime statistics in, and it's Scottish statistics and English and Welsh statistics, because it's not devolved in Wales. Talk about education, they do GCSEs in Wales, because it's not as further devolved. So Scotland is really devolved, and there have been talks of Devo Max, which is just nearly all powers becoming devolved, but that's never come to fruition.
Yeah, and that's since when was devolution? It's like late 90s?
1998 was when they voted on a Scottish Parliament, I believe.
Led by, am I right? Alex Salmond? No. No, that was before him. He was later.
I think you might be thinking of Scottish independence. He was the front runner of independence.
In 2014,
In 2014.
That's another important thing to mention. We had an independence referendum in Scotland in 2014 for... you wouldn't call it full devolution. That's just like becoming a separate state to the UK.
So it was becoming a separate state from the UK, acting as a separate state. So it was a referendum, which is different from an election. A referendum, you're given a question. It's a form of direct democracy. The people are given a question, they tick yes or no. It ended up being a 55-45 split, 55 for no and 45 for yes. That's obviously changed a lot since. Not a lot, but it has changed since. We were talking about Devo Max. You mentioned thinking that independence was fully getting devolved powers. There were discussions at the time that a devolution max was going to be put on the ballot, so that you'd have three things to choose between: independence, full devolution, or just no. That ended up not happening because there was fears that it would split the independence vote.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then, so talking about the difference between a referendum and an election, can we just we have local elections, we have general elections, so what's the difference?
So in the UK, for UK election, you use something called first past the post. So you go in there, you pick a person to represent one of your little area, your constituency. That person goes to Westminster, the person that's voted in, groups up with their party, and then the party that has the most people, representatives, forms government, and that's how government's formed, and that's how parliament's formed. The leader of the party in government becomes the Prime Minister. That's how so that's a form of representative democracy, where you choose somebody who has similar values and similar beliefs, and who has said that they're going to do things that you want to happen, and they represent you and vote on behalf of you. And then you've got things like, representative democracy, things like referendums, where you make the choice yourself. So countries like Switzerland uses both representative democracy and direct democracy a lot more than we do. They have a good couple votes a year, whereas we've in our lifetime there's been
Brexit.
Independence and Brexit.
Yeah.
What else was there's been a few on what voting system we should change to.
Electoral reform,
that's it. If we should change to proportional representation. But there's only been a couple in our time, whereas they have that amount every year in countries like Switzerland.
Yeah. And in Scotland we both vote for our local MSP and our local MP.
Yes, but you vote for your local MP the same way that I discussed, the same way that everyone else does. But you vote for your MSP a little different, because we don't use first past the post for Holyrood. We use a system called additional member system, where you do the same thing. You vote for a person, and then you get a second sheet, and you're given all the party names, and you vote for a party. And it doesn't have to be you can vote for one person who represents one party, and then vote for a different party, which is the really interesting part. And they use a little thing called the détente system, which is a little mathematical equation, and your first vote, your vote for a person's, your constituency vote, that goes off and that person becomes a constituency. And then they tally up all your list of votes, which are when you vote for and they take it in a bigger region, so it's like multiple constituencies put together. And they take it, and then they take the number of seats each party has already, add 1 to it, and divide it by the number of votes they've got, and then they use that to decide who's getting that next seat.
Right.
So a very confusing system that you wouldn't think would make any or work, it would seem, but it actually takes it closer to the actual number of votes. It's more proportional to do it this way, to add that extra step. Confusing step.
Because there's been instances in the UK Parliament, I'm sure, where parties lost the popular vote but won the election.
I think the Conservatives, the last one they had like 40 something, and then they ended up having like 50, 60 something. They all had 40 something percent of the votes and ended up having 50, 60 something percent
and
of seats.
the constituencies are supposed to be representative of population size, but the reality is it's all, like, population's always changing and it's never really that accurate, so it doesn't end up being a totally representative representation of the
people.
Public. Oh yeah, and that's another thing to bring up is tactical voting. So a lot of people maybe don't necessarily vote for a party that they would like to be in, or it's just like a better option than another party. They just want to not have another party going.
Yeah, when we were talking about with Ellie's view on like the parties and all that.
Yeah.
I was thinking sometimes it's more a case of you don't like any party, you don't have any explicit want to vote for any party, but there's a party that you don't like. So you can you can tactically vote and you'll vote for the party that are most likely to beat the party that you want. We've got the Labour Party in government at the moment, and it's something like 50%, maybe not 50%, but a good chunk, it was polled, and a good chunk of the people who voted for the Labour Party did it because they didn't want the Conservatives to take power again, and the Labour Party were the best option for that. They, were the party in opposition for years. So it's, you vote for a party not because you want to vote for that party, but because they're the most likely to beat another party. That's really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, it's tricky though, because I think I've never voted before because I'm not obvious to vote.
Well,
but
we'll be voting next year. Hollywood 2026.
I missed that.
No, because the vote. Should mention that voting age in Scotland is 16.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I hope everyone here is registered to vote.
I'm not.
Nice. Register to vote, Alex.
Yeah, I should register to vote. I forget that
I will be.
Yeah, but I think I'll have that trouble when I'm older. Is like I feel like in my heart, like, see if everyone just didn't tactically vote, and it was like everyone just put down what they thought, and it was like a true representation we could have. But because I know that people do, I just feel like I need to conform to that as well, and like I would really like to vote for like Green or something. Yeah. But like but like see, everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks I'd like Green to be in power, but I can't vote for them because I'll never get in power. But see if all those people did vote for Green, they'd maybe have. And it's important to say as well, in Scotland it's slightly different where like, yeah, because you have your second vote, then also Green can build up seats without and also have an influence without being the.
So Green do have obviously a few seats in Scotland, and that's in big part because of the regional vote, because they don't garner that much seats in the constituency vote when it comes to, because small parties are completely underrepresented in first past the post. They're getting like almost 20% of the vote, but a couple seats.
Is that the whole reason behind the name for reform, is that they want
so that's something that Nigel Farage, that's when we talk about like his stint on I'm a Celebrity. I was convinced he was going to go into I'm a Celebrity and he was going to start like bashing on first past the post. I was really fascinated by that because they didn't end up doing that as much, but I was really fascinated by that.
I don't want. Do they use a first past the post voting system on I'm a Celebrity?
That was going to be his thing, but I don't think he was. I didn't watch it, to be honest. I don't watch those type of shows, but I don't watch that seems really bad. I didn't mean it like that. I meant I don't watch shows with spiders and snakes and yucky things. I didn't mean it. Oh, anyway, it did this really interesting thing. Him being it puts him on the same side as the Greens, which I think is odd because if we take my little picture, they are opposite sides.
Yeah, but it's just because they're both small parties that are underrepresented.
Small parties, they're completely underrepresented, and if you don't want to say it, because I don't think I would hate for Reform to have more representation, but it is, compared to its percentage, it is really underrepresented, which is scary. Because you see what they do with their small tiny, and you think if they could have, you think that's represented between 20% of the population.
Yeah.
When in reality they've got 5 out of 250.
Next election it could well be a lot bigger as well, grown in support, and their large follower base at the age of about 15 and 16 right now will be of age to vote in the next election. So
they're currently polling 15% for 2026, I believe, which is scary.
So Reform, just as a kind of rising party there, and possibly like moving in to be, people say this, I don't necessarily know that I don't know that I believe that they're going to be the new opposition to Labour. They're not nearly that big, but like they're kind of moving into that space. Conservatives have gone down in power a lot, and and also I'm not, but like the country is moving towards the right, so it's kind of like there needs to be a party to come up, take that space, so it is interesting.
Yeah, if you were to look at a political spectrum, they're kind of sneaking up behind Conservatives, and the Conservatives are trying to move more right to take that space away from them, but it's not really working for them. We feel that this is a massive discussion that's been left a bit unfinished, so in the future we're probably going to come and revisit it and do a bit of a part 2, but we'd like to include questions from people listening and what the youth listening want to know. So yeah, before we do that, we'd love to get questions in, or your experiences with politics.
So look out on all our social media platforms to see if there'll probably be a poll up or something to see what you're looking for, or else you can email us at creativespeakspodcast@gmail.com.
You've been listening to Creative Speaks. Join us next time to hear more of what's going on inside young minds.